Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this in-depth ag forecast for Ag Carolina and Ag South Farm Credit. And in today's forecast, we're going to dig into some important stuff coming up here over the next month. So I'm going to start you off with some satellite data. I got a lot loaded in this forecast, so sit back and relax. We're going to get to a lot of stuff. But the first thing is this. Over the last few days of this week, we've been watching a tropical system. It's very weak. It really almost has extratropical-like characteristics, but this might be the most important piece of the forecast right here. What's coming from our southeast this weekend to deliver some rainfall? Now, I'm showing you yesterday's satellite data, so this is through Thursday evening, and we can also see a lot of wildfire smoke that's in the west. And just to show you what's going on in the Pacific Northwest, huge wildfires in Canada spreading smoke throughout the Midwest, and this is going to continue to be an issue. But I'm showing you this to illustrate a point about the pressure pattern we're going to dig into in just a few moments. There's going to be a lot of four corners ridging, and that's the ridge that's creating the storms that you see right here. So watch as I kind of move this back and forth. See how the storms are kind of orbiting around some sort of a high pressure cell here in the middle? That's going to be key to understanding the position of high pressure, not just here, but also the position of the Bermuda High, a main story we're going to cover here today. So here we go. Let's get right into it. Friday, recording this in the morning here. This is it. I've been waiting for this for a while. We have got flood watches out. And why I'm so, enthusiastic about this is because we are desperate in terms of getting rainfall into this region. I want to do a quick analysis of this, talk about drought, not just here, but around the rest of the country. We're going to walk through some long-range stuff. I'm going to go all the way to winter. I might as well. This is look out there as far as we can, talk about La Nina, and we'll finish up with the global outlook. So that's the plan. But to get us started here, it's this big ridge in the west that's creating all of this heat that's allowing for the position of the Bermuda High to push this tropical system toward us. And it's important that it gets here because over our last 30 days, take a look at the percent of normal precipitation. There's been deeper convection in parts of Georgia. So we've had these daily storms that have popped up multiple times and locally putting down some heavy rain. It's been hot, but we've been able to get some rain out of this. But as you inch your way into South Carolina, most of North Carolina, and then getting into Virginia, we've got some places like take a look at this area here. There's a corridor that has seen on average about 10 to 20% of normal precipitation in the last month. And as you get toward the coast, we've got a few pockets in here that have missed out on this as well. So the National Hurricane Center, let's see if they got a new update here for me. Yeah, they still have this at a 0% chance of developing. And that's good. We don't want tropical storm characteristics out of this. We just want its moisture. And what we're seeing in the models, let me take you back. I was just watching this before I started recording. Throughout the day today on Friday, getting into tonight, into Saturday morning, through the middle of the day on Saturday, working our way into Saturday evening. That low, just watch it again. I'll play it a little quicker. Here we go, Saturday into Sunday. It'll finally clear out by the time we get into Sunday, but there is moisture coming in with this. And as it does so, it's critical because our precipitation ranks when starting on June 1st up until now have been near the very bottom of the distribution. It's very, very dry in this area. Now, what's been amazing about this is we've talked at length about this. There's not been a massive blocking area of high pressure. We've just been left out of the flow because it's been mainly in the upper Midwest along the Canadian border. That's why this area has been so very, very wet in parts of the Corn Belt. And that's left us out of the flow. And just at times, we've missed precipitation opportunities. No big fronts have made it all the way here. They've all been lingering throughout the Great Lakes states, maybe into the Northeast, and they've missed our area. And even though the tropics have been quite active, like Beryl came through, this is the type of cyclone, tropical cyclone I expect to see in September. And given where the ocean temperatures are now, we've got September-like ocean temperatures. But Beryl made its way right through Texas, hitting Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, parts of Michigan, and just completely doused a crop that needed to have some moisture on it. Meanwhile, what have we had for the last week? Isolated storms. That's what you're seeing here in this 7-day precipitation map. So I wanted to bring this all up so we understand where we currently are. And let's keep talking a bit more about this. Because by the way, I just want to show you something. Now, I live right here. You all know this. And we are in the heart of the Corn Belt. And a lot of you in the Carolinas down to Georgia are growing a lot of corn, soybeans, and other crops in addition to your normal crop mix. But on Sunday, this whole region, very productive part of the Midwest was dry. Beryl came through and wiped it all out. That's a huge hit, and this is what really tanked the markets. The forecast from this is what really tanked the markets overall. But if we come back to some analysis, I want to show you something. I pulled out just the cropland for Georgia, North and South Carolina to look at the NDVI. So while the NDVI values have really jumped up throughout the Corn Belt, we're still sitting below, this is this red line here, below our historical numbers, and we're certainly below last year. And we have questions as to whether or not over the coming weeks will we make our rebound if some moisture gets in. And I want to show you that latest forecast here in just a few moments, because it is critical to undo these major deficits in soil moisture that are happening here in parts of Ag South and Ag Carolina territory, getting up toward parts of the Mid-Atlantic and along the Appalachian Mountains. So we've got a lot to be seeing here, because in the last few months, we've watched drought expand in our area. And again, you look at all of this and say, well, normally if we have summer drought, it's due to the Bermuda High coming all the way over here and just planting itself in this area. And it's just not done that. We've not had that happen, but we've just been left out of the stronger jet stream flow, which has stayed way up here, preventing the moisture from getting into our region. And that's why over the last 6 weeks, we've seen up to a 3, in some places almost a 4-class degradation in the drought in this area. Now, if you can tell a bit by my tone, I have what I hope to be some pretty positive news for this area as we kind of go forward. But I want to point out a couple of other areas across the Cotton Belt just to keep an eye on here. For example, parts of the Delta, very, very dry. Sections of the Red River Valley, parts of Texas. So we grow a lot of cotton, of course, in Ag South and Ag Carolina territory. Just want you to see that we've got issues also across parts of the South that need to be dealt with here that have just been left out of the flow. And what I want you to understand in this pattern is it is looking more and more conducive to better rainfall all the way across our Cotton Belt as we go forward in this forecast. Now, where the heat is going to stay anchored, I think is best seen in this image. This is the last 30 days of precip compared to average, but we're in the Northwest. They say, Eric, get back to the Southeast. Well, wait, this is where we need to be watching for things, because if we're anchoring heat into this area, all right, this is where we're going to be getting the biggest areas of high pressure, and that'll keep the Bermuda High in the right spot for us. Now, if we continue to see western U.S. wildfires as a result of that pattern, you can almost see over the next 48 hours how they're orbiting around this high pressure cell. Seeing the pressure return and staying higher and higher in this area will actually allow the Bermuda High to stay out to open ocean and push moisture toward us. That's the key. That's what I'm trying to unlock in this pattern. So this is what it looks like. Right now, as we slide into this weekend, the jet stream is way far to the north. And there's our Bermuda High, and there's our Four Corners High. Now, as I play this forward, going through the weekend, it's going to get hot. We got a hot weekend ahead of us. But take a look by Monday into Tuesday what happens. Four Corners Ridge is in place. There it is. But look at this trough coming through. Our Bermuda High is here. That's the edge of it right there. And what's important about this is this front's going to try to work Wednesday into Thursday right over our area. You'll watch as I go from Wednesday into Thursday. See the trough dropping down? If this ridge rebuilds into this area and the Bermuda High stays in place, we'll funnel moisture into that front that'll sag right through here, and we're going to get some storms out of this. And guess what? As we go out there to the 19th, 20th, and 21st, I continue to see a Four Corners Ridge, a Bermuda High, trough, trough. And that is a pattern that's better set up for us to be getting more precipitation. Now, over the weekend, we have a slight chance of storms today. Getting into tomorrow, again, slight chance of storms. This is all associated with that tropical system, but the severe convection is expected to be in the northwest United States, and you can see that here all the way to Sunday. But if we just broaden this out and look at the whole package, this is this morning on Friday, playing through the rest of the day, getting into Saturday, a lot of scattered rain in our area. Well, parts of it, parts of South Carolina, more of North Carolina, Virginia, going through Saturday into Sunday before that clears out. Okay, where are we taking it after this? The 7-day forecast from the artificial intelligence. We can see the wetter conditions being forecast here. Let's compare that to 4 other models. First, the national blend. What you've got in here is a pretty good chance at getting over an inch of rain in this corridor, mostly from the system this weekend, but next Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to watch another front try to make its way toward you. This is getting to the WPC forecast, very similar as well. This is the European model forecast, and finally the GFS. Now, if you got to pick, you'd want to pick the GFS, because when you compare it to the European, these colors represent where the GFS is the wetter forecast model. In other words, just bringing in more abundant moisture into this area and bringing the front through sooner by next Wednesday night into Thursday. To show you all of that, I'm going to compare the GFS on the left to the European on the right. Now, we've already talked about this weekend's rainfall from the tropical system. There it goes through. Now watch. Upper Midwest right here. This is Sunday. The storm's coming through the upper Midwest. Now, if I just play back and forth, do you see how there's plenty of flow? I mean, the flow is not having trouble coming around like this. But Sunday into Monday, there it is, Tuesday. Watch right here. That low curling up over the Hudson Bay leaves a front right there. The Bermuda high is just off the page. But if the moisture's coming in, see how the storms are popping in the evening hours here from, parts of Mississippi all the way to Georgia? And here we go. This is Wednesday and Thursday. See the front sagging? That is the late week chances next week of bringing in some halfway decent moisture into our area. And as that front comes through, it's going to cool things off and give us possibly from Thursday into Friday and eventually into Saturday the chances for getting some precip. So over this weekend, we have a decent chance of grabbing an inch. That's what this is showing you, the probability of an inch. But then as we play forward, watch this area start to show up with color. And by Thursday and Friday and Saturday of next week, now this whole area gets another chance of getting some moisture. And it is desperately needed in that area. You look out there to week 2, and what you end up getting is this. There's going to be a lingering front that's going to sit here while the Bermuda high sits right in this area. So if we have high pressure cells sitting here and a front, we're going to be bringing moisture out of the Gulf with flow coming from the north like this, and that seems to be the area over which we sandwich. That's the majority of the cotton belt here, getting into the mid-Atlantic that's got good chances, really good chances of getting moisture. And it's not just the European model that's seeing this. It's actually all of our major modeling suite, including the new update from the CPC, which is suggesting, as you look out there during the time period of the 19th to the 25th, we've got a few days in through here, especially the 19th and 21st, where we're on the lookout for a moderate risk of heavy precipitation. So this is the break, the Bermuda high providing the break away from the risk of drought. And this is not coming from some big tropical system. This is literally just coming from the flow around that Bermuda high. So again, the excitement in my voice is primarily because we're breaking away from what has been developing and getting some key moisture in at an important time in our forecast. Now, what are the temperatures doing? As we let this reset and play, we've been hot. Look at the temperature signals here that have gone up toward these hot temperatures over the last week or so. Now, most of the heat's been in the west, as you can see here. But as we forecast forward, take a look. While the heat mainly stays in the west, what are our temperatures going to do? Today's a cooler one because of cloud cover. As we go into Saturday, our temperatures start to warm back up. We're going to be touching the century mark down here in parts of Georgia. But the plains, the Midwest, the Northwest, the West Coast, very hot. Told you they got some heat coming in. There's Sunday's high temperatures, 3 to 7 degrees above average. Look at this. This is Monday, very, very hot. But you know what you're waiting on. It's that front that's right in here. So a lot of heat this weekend into early next week. Very hot Tuesday. But there's our front Wednesday. And by Thursday, it's breaking into our area, and we're going to cool down after that. And that's why the day 5 through 10 forecast, let me show you that first, is breaking away from these hot temperatures and cooling things off a bit by day 10 through 15. Now, the map I jumped over is an evaporation rate map. And there will still be storms that pop on the heat of the day as we go through the weekend into early next week after we get the moisture from the would-be tropical system to get out. But I show you this 7-day evaporation map to get an idea on how much heat's coming into the plains. And we're going to get evaporation rates right in through here that'll top 2, maybe 3 inches. And of course, in the west, they're that high as well. But to come back to that temperature pattern, that's day 5 through 10. See the cool down that's expected? And here's day 10 through 15. We are expecting better temperatures to get into our area after we endure the heat that's coming this weekend into early and mid next week. So that's 2 weeks for you. What are my last slides all about? They're about where this pattern is going to be going. And we're going to start off with ocean temperatures. So the main features, it's not La Nina. That's our La Nina trying to get going. It's the heat that's here and the heat that's here that's creating these areas or helping these areas of high pressure form. Now, right now, because of the proximity to the United States of the warm water and the pressure cells there, it's creating a ridge feature that's way over the Four Corners states. And we're going to get this flow around the Bermuda High, which is going to be pulling off of high moisture air from all the heat that's in the ocean here. But as we're looking at this, let's just talk a little bit about La Nina. Because over the next 15 days, you see all this blue in here? That represents where there are stronger than normal trade winds. And that is a sign that La Nina is getting going. Now, it's not been going up to this point. It's actually been very, very weak for a while, but we're starting to get some indications that La Nina is going to start to show up here. But there's another part to this as well. If I go back, I want to show you that over the next couple of weeks, in the upper levels of the atmosphere, so this is now all the way through the 27th, you see these warmer colors? Where are they in the world? Well, they're right here. Sitting on the tropics, we have warmer colors which represent suppression in the upper atmosphere. So what that means is even though the ocean is primed for making more tropical systems, right now there's subsidence in the upper atmosphere here, which is going to slow down the tropical season. It's actually what's preventing this system from really getting going. Plus, there's other complicating factors, but the main point here is that I don't have any tropical systems coming in the near term, and there's also a lot of dust blowing off the Saharan desert. I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this in the news. Right now, over the next 10 days, the dust extent is actually, across the main development region, some of the highest we've ever observed. And that's what's going to slow down this hurricane season in the near term. But it's not going to last. This is just toward the end of July, and you all know that August, September, October is the big time frame for tropical systems. So taking you from mid-July to late August, this would be August 21st, I need you to see this. Here's the Bermuda High, kind of moving its way over toward the Azores a bit, but the warmer colors indicate higher than normal pressure. So that means the Bermuda High is going to be big, and it means that we will be pushing systems farther to the east when they begin to form, likely late this month and, of course, into the month of August. But as it stands, take a look. The influence of that Bermuda High right now in the models has got us with better chances of keeping a stormier pattern around. See that? And that's going to be key to watch as we go forward in this forecast. The other components of this have to deal with La Nina, but that's later in the season, not now. The newest European model flattened out in its forecast for the strength of La Nina as we go forward, but that's not echoed by all forecast models. For example, one of them, the CFSV2, that's a model we run at NOAA, it's got a much more aggressive track to bringing in a stronger La Nina by fall into winter. And I want to show you something. The Bureau of Meteorology, this is out of Australia, actually not only keeps track of their own forecast, which is INSO-neutral, but they compare their forecast to the Canadians, the Europeans, the Japanese, the French, the United States, and the British. And take a look at this. This is La Nina, this is neutral color, and this is El Nino. August to September, into October, November, and December. Which models are most aggressive? NOAA's model, the UK Met Office, and the Canadians. Most of the other forecasts, like the Australians, the Europeans, and even the French, are now much more INSO-neutral. So there are big questions to answer about where this is going to go. And I want to show you some of these models just so you get an idea. Let's take you back to here. This is the outlook for September. Let me rephrase that. July, August, September. And again, we're watching for an active hurricane season. You can continue to see that here in the August, September, October forecast. Now, the model is projecting more drier bias toward things in the midsection of the country for late summer, early autumn. And we see that again here. But by the time we get into our cool season and we look toward the end of the hurricane season, there's going to be a question as to where the jet stream ends up living across the northern hemisphere. And I think that question is going to be largely answered by understanding what La Nina is going to be doing. But this is late in the year, and this is not now. This is later in the year. And if we compare that to the new National Multi-Model Ensemble, August, September, October, you see a very similar forecast. What about going farther into September, October, November? Drier in the interior. What about October, November, December? We're seeing a dry fall. But take a look at this. One of the models that's embedded in this is the CFSV2. That's the model that's predicting the much more rapid decline of La Nina, bringing it into stronger and stronger conditions. So let me rephrase that. It's the decline in the ocean temperatures, which is an indication of a strong La Nina. And what it's doing is July, August, September, well, yeah, we've got the better chances of being wetter. But as you go later, August, September, October, November, look at once we get into the cold season. November, December, January, and then let's just go look at it. That's winter. It is trying to bring in a perfect textbook La Nina, which is wet in the northwest, wet in the Ohio River Valley, near normal for us, but no subtropical jet. So I want you to be aware that that's what some of the longer range models are predicting. In the near term, though, there seems to be pretty conclusive evidence in the models that we're going to get into an active hurricane season, even though there's a lull right now. And we're going to be watching August, September, October for maybe some drier conditions to penetrate in the midsection of the country. But that'd be right about harvest time. From there, I'm going to give you, just back to the near term, a quick global update. We've been watching very carefully the drought situation that has been happening in Western Russia getting into Ukraine, and the forecasts continue to show drier there. Coming into India, we've watched surges of the monsoon get into the Ganges River Valley, but mainly it stayed to the south, and that's where we're expecting it to be now. The Yangtze River in south was extremely wet in spring. Now it's gone over hot and dry. The Mayu front has moved north, hitting the North China Plain, which was an area that was in drought in spring. So flip-flop in the precipitation patterns here across China. But if you look at the temperature pattern, very hot here, very hot Ukraine, getting into the Western Russia grain belt. And there had been a pretty strong frontal boundary parked over southern Brazil, producing a lot of heavy rain, but that has since backed off. All of the same factors we covered in this video are controlling a lot of the global weather patterns as well. And to be honest, the area that I'm watching most carefully is Ukraine and Western Russia. We've just been monitoring the continued degradation of drought. The NDVI values are very low there, and there's just big questions as to what it's going to look like as we go forward. So that's it. I'm glad to be able to talk to you again here, but I want to give you this update, and we'll chat again soon. Appreciate it. Thanks.